Our meeting today is going to be a workshop meeting for the second and third step. At this time, I'm going to turn the meeting over to our first speaker, that is Kellie. Please come up. Please welcome her.
Hi, my name's Kellie and I'm an addict. Grateful to be here, grateful for another day clean. So when I think about step 2, it brings me back to the insanity. Obviously, let me just get this going. So before I started working my step 2, I had a year clean, and I was just out there. I wasn't going to meetings. I didn't have a sponsor, and I wasn't working steps, and I was about 6 months pregnant when I came back into the rooms. I'd spent some time in here and I left a little bit. Thought I had it on my own. I was done with paper. I was done with the probation officer, and I got into a relationship, and I thought that's all I needed. And I got pregnant, and the father of my children started to use, and that's when really I feel like that insanity was a lot more worse than my own drug addiction, because I was out there trying to save someone else, and I was clean, and I was chasing him from every either jail or some kind of recovery house or treatment center, and that's all I thought I needed to save, because I thought I was okay without the drugs today, or then. I didn't believe in God. I was disgusted with who I'd become. I've become fully unaware of the disease of addiction now without the use of drugs, and I knew I had to get a grip, otherwise after I had my twins, I was going to use. Pregnancy and using was not a part of my story, thank God. But I knew that if I didn't find some kind of hope, then I was going to be off to the races with him, because he was using in full active addiction. And so I stumbled back into the rooms. Like I said, I was pregnant at this point, and I had just fallen to my knees and literally started begging for help more than I had ever begged for help before. At this point, I come into contact with a woman who became my sponsor, and I still didn't believe in God. I didn't believe that I was worthy of anything to turn my life over. I just knew that I had to believe in something greater than me at that point. It was my sponsor, and she became like my full lifeline. I'm so nervous. But a light bulb came on. She started asking me to journal, and she didn't even get me into the steps right away, but she started asking me to journal so I can get used to step 1. And I did that every day. I did that while I had the twins. I was in labor. After I had them, I sat there and I journaled, and we sat there together. She was with me through it all. I'm so nervous. I don't know why I'm nervous. Thank you. And then she thought it was okay for me to move to step 1. So when I got on step 1, I really, at that point, I had turned it over. I mean, obviously I had to work through the step and surrender, but I had surrendered. I was done messing with, people, places, and things that exhibited the lifestyle of addiction. Because I know it wanted me dead mentally, physically, and emotionally. And so I have all these notes up here that are not helping me right now. So after that, first step, and I surrendered, I had to come to believe that something out there, like something greater than me, had to save me, and it wasn't myself anymore, because I only had hope in myself, right? Like I thought that I was strong enough to, thanks, babe. I thought that I was strong enough to beat this. I wasn't on paper no more. I wasn't signing up for, drops every week at a recovery house or some kind of treatment center. So I had to believe, period. That's all it really was. I had to believe in something other than myself, because that's all I believed in. And all I had from that hope was that the next one was going to be there, or that I was going to get him some more money at this fucking treatment house. That's all I believed in. That's all I felt that I was good enough for. I didn't feel like I was good enough to be a mom. I had no idea why I got pregnant with twins. No idea why, my parents let me back in their house. I had no idea why the rooms were so receptive to me when I came back. I just knew that somebody loved me, period, and that I was worthy, and that I just had to believe it. That's it. I just had to believe it. And so through that process of believing, I was able to get some sanity back, and realize that, I didn't have to chase some dude and try to save him. He's dead now, by the way. He's dead now. So all that chasing that I did, all that sickness that I felt when I was chasing him, It was just like a bag of fucking dope, man. It was just like a bag of dope. And thank God my sponsor or that sponsor at the time, she was not a fan of relationships or men, so she's exactly what I needed. She was not. She taught me y'all are just like a bag of dope. But for real, until I was able to love myself enough, you guys were really just a bag of dope to me. And it really, and today it's just shopping, so I still got to work on that. So let's see. I started working on step 2. I stopped leaving him, or I stopped chasing him. Even though I thought it was God's will for my children to have a dad, it wasn't his will for it to be that person, unfortunately, because blood doesn't really mean anything. My higher power continues to love me through other people. I was watching people on Facebook, and they were growing, and I reached out to this girl, and she gave me hope. She gave me so much hope as a mother, and she's one of my best friends today. She showed me how to be a mom. She'd come to my house and help me take care of these. I have 3 kids. I have a set of twins and an 11-year-old. The twins are 7 this year, or this coming year. She helped me bathe them. My parents were like a power greater to me, dude, because I was done walking in their house. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. I was done walking in their house, and I was, 32 years old, 33 years old, crying in my dad's arms because I felt like I was just totally fucking broken. And I was done with that. So I had people that loved me through all of that. My mom, my sponsors, I called her every day for like 2 years, told her everything. I didn't make a decision at all without consulting with her. And slowly I became restored to sanity. There's something so magical about these steps when you work through them and you share it with another person who is on your level. I love her very much. And so I just kept working the program. I kept going to meetings. I got into service with her. Let's see. Step 3. She told me a light bulb came on when I started working step 3 that I started changing. I started, I did some outside things for step 3 and step 2. And when I wasn't going to meetings, I kept saying, like, I need something more, because I wasn't going to meetings for a little bit. Sorry, I'm all over the place. But I wasn't going to meetings for a little bit. And, but I would go to church. This is a not religious program, I get that. But that's what I was doing. I kept saying, like, I need something more. And then, like, finally, like, a light bulb went off. Like, bro, you need to go back to meetings. You need to work the steps. That's really what it is, just working this fucking program. It's magic. The nightmare I was living is completely different today. Today I actually live on my own. I've built a relationship with my mom because that wasn't always stable. But she always showed up for me. I was a shit truck. I hadn't really been in their lives for, I don't know, I think it was like 15 years. I just kind of made appearances here and there, and didn't really bring my oldest daughter around because she didn't suit my lifestyle. But she never gave up on me. So I feel like even before I made that decision to turn my will over and to just believe that something loved me, there were so many people out there that did love me. I was just so doped up that I couldn't see it because they didn't fit my fucking will. Thanks, babe. See? Just like a fucking bag of dope. I get satisfaction from him saying, thanks, babe. Because, like, yeah, I'm just fucking sick sometimes. But, but they opened their doors back for me, and they let me in. This program has given me a way to, before my dad died, I was able to make an amends with him. Which was beautiful because I thanked him for everything that he did for me when I wasn't loving myself and I was, living in my will. And he looked me dead in my face and said, you're the one who put the work in. I just loved you. So, it gave me hope that I can continue to be a good mom because he saw stuff in me that I didn't see in myself. Like I really beat myself up when I was out there, and I don't understand how I'm here today. And then when I sit down and I start working these steps, or I'm up here speaking like it's fucking insane, right? Like I should not be up here talking about anything worth sanity, but I have some sanity today. I'm able to process some things. Like my kids will drive me insane, but if I practice that pause and like just speak to them and like reflect on what's about to come out of my mouth, then I'm able to teach them like what it looks like to not be unstable like it was when I was growing up. Like the yelling and the screaming, the hitting, the smacking, the grounding, the this or that. If I can just, and now my mom, she tells me, thanks for being my recovery buddy. She's not in recovery, but I can teach her how to speak to my kids today. She's still a little more gentle than I am, but I guess that's grandmas get to do that. I just get on this roll and then I fucking shut down because. But this program has taught me how to be a mom. It's taught me how to be a coworker. It's taught me how to use, the principles at work. And every time that I get a review, they like list all these spiritual principles, which is unbeknownst to them that I actually, practiced and study those and define those words every couple months when I'm working on a step so I can apply it at work. Because I should not be here. I should be dead right now. I should not have custody of my twins right now because of the life I was living when I was pregnant with them. But through surrender and just like trusting somebody that believed in me and gave me hope. I remember when I was out there and I wasn't even using, but I was literally out there chasing this man around. I was on bed rest. I was supposed to be on bed rest, and I was chasing him up to Woodhaven and Dayton to get him released for him to get out and fucking use again and wreck his car and be high when I was fucking giving birth. Like, that's the shit. And giving him like my last $20 and $30, like living at my parents' house, getting $100 every 2 weeks for child support, and giving it all to him and letting my parents fucking take care of us. That's the insane shit that I was dealing with. And like just believing that something better than myself, that's it. Like I just had to fucking believe in Tracy fucking B. I mean, she was a power greater than myself, otherwise I would be dead. If it's not for that woman, man, I would not be here, I promise you that. Because I didn't believe in anything else. I believed in anything that woman told me to do, I did it. If she would have told me to stand on my head, I would have figured a way to stand on my head to get another day fucking clean. Yeah, I don't know. I guess that's all I got. I'm just rambling now. But let me just say this. If you are new here, please get a sponsor. Please work the steps. I tried to do that for a year, and it made me more unmanageable without the use of drugs. And the only thing that kept me clean was pregnancy, and I don't really suggest getting pregnant in 90 days clean. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Let's give her one more hand, guys. All right, our next speaker is Brandon G. Let's give him a round of applause.
How I'm supposed to follow that? Did a great job. I'm Brandon. I'm an addict. Sorry, it's going to take a minute to get my weapons set up because I came to war today and thought I was speaking for an hour, so I got shit everywhere. But I knew if I was going to be quoting this literature, I wanted to make sure it was word for word and not paraphrasing like I like to do in the meetings. So, all right. I'm Brandon. I'm an addict. Step 2, step 3. Step 2 for me, worked it several times, and up until the last couple of sponsors, every time I worked it like some kind of like exam, like I wrote down exactly what I thought a sponsor needed to hear. And that's about what it got me, Like I never really applied, the hope and the faith that we get. And like my definition of hope and faith was, when I was working the steps was about like giving the dope man some money and hoping he was bringing me something back, or waiting at the damn gas station for him to come back with my dope. That's about what my hope and faith was. And so when I got into this, the most recent second step I've done, which was not very long ago, I started seeing what it talks about in here is a fundamental transformation. And step 2, I got so much shit, I'm not even going to try. I'm just going to paraphrase it. So it talks about, that many of us just gloss over step 2, only to find out that we can't work the rest of the steps without doing it. And that's exactly what happened to me. Step 2, the insanity, we talk about, we came to believe. And the only thing I had came to believe early on was that that I couldn't use successfully. That drugs were unmanageable for me. And so coming to believe that a power, not in a power. Because that took some more time. I had to get to a place where I could believe that a power could restore me. And wasn't sure about restoration. Most I knew about restoration was fixing a car. That's about all I'd ever restored was a car. So I had no idea how I was going to bondo myself back to a successful member of society. And so the insanity sometimes, and like I even so I like to justify shit, and like a lot of times I would do some behaviors with clean time and say I was guilty by reason of insanity. And that's a justification that I used for a long time because I wasn't putting dope in my body. I was still out here acting like a scumbag in these rooms, and was never about the dope. Never was about the dope. And so that restoration of sanity for me was the fundamental transformation I had to have in my life. And so step 2, going to go back to the notes here. Okay, so squirrel, where am I at? Totally lost it. Okay. So step 2 is was a process for me, and I my guys today, like I've got several sponsees, and we usually start out on the symbol, and then the we part of our steps is we use an acronym in our sponsor tree is willingly engage, because that's what we means for us, and I found a way to make my life easy is to give sponsees assignments, because it makes my job really easy because you lose a lot of sponsees, and a lot of guys say that I'm their sponsor, but they don't do any work for me. They don't call me. They don't do step work. They don't attend meetings. And so, when I catch them out and they're like, this guy's my sponsor, I'm like, really, what am I sponsoring? What have you, this is a two-way relationship. And if you're not putting your part in, I'm like, I can't put mine in. And so, to me, that's insanity, and we all know the definition that I think Einstein gave. It was repeating the same shit over again, knowing, expecting different results. But for me, it was, knowing exactly what was going to happen. And another big part in step 2 for me that really hit home this time was that in the step working guide, it talks about that we reach a level of denial that we can't even see our own insanity right in front of us. And that's exactly the light bulb moment for me was like, I was just in denial, and it's didn't even know I was lying. Didn't even notice I am lying. DENIAL, denial. And so when I got to that point, I had the hope and the faith, and so that led me to step 3. And one of the so early on, step 3 was I'm not supposed to make any major decisions the first year. So how could I take a step 3 in the first year clean? And I justified that, like I never got past step 3 my first year clean. And so that's another one of my manipulation tools because I don't know about you guys, but I like to overthink shit, and that's usually what I do. It's Simplicity is the first word in the basic text, but I don't know anything about simplicity. And so, step 3, made a decision, turn our will and our lives over to the care of God of our understanding. And so, a sponsor broke this down for me, and my will and my life. So I changed that to thinking and actions. So I had to turn my thinking and my actions over to the care of, and then so the care of, I wasn't like care of what. So and the sponsor broke this down and said, if I gave you my 5-year-old, you would take care of him, right? You would feed him and bathe him and stuff. And so that's exactly what I had to do with my thinking and my actions. I had to turn it over to God and let Him take care of it for me. And I learned that this was another pivotal moment. Step 3 for me was that a decision without action is still just a thought. And I didn't realize that, with 5 years clean, that these decisions I was making in my head and I was going ahead and acting on them, that put action into it. And I didn't have to do that. So, I learned that I can have these thoughts as long as I don't act on them. And that goes back to the part I missed in step 2 is to act as if. It talks about acting as if we believe that we can be restored. And as if is a big one, and like my basic text has a thing there. It says it's not old behavior if you just did it. And so that's a good reminder for me out there that I have to, if I'm still acting in that behavior, it's not old behavior. And so step 3 was moving away from self-will. It's step 3 is more than a decision of the mind. It's a decision of my heart, from my experience. And so, there's many different spirituality in our program. This literature doesn't tell us how to get that. It just says to get one, right? And so, a loving, caring power greater than myself. And so, a sponsor told me, seek outside help. And so, that's what I did. And so it talks about that the search for a God of our understanding is one of the most important efforts we were ever undertake in our recovery. And undertake is a big word for me. And so on my searching, I had to find a spiritual curriculum that worked for me and outside help. And it just happens to be, another fellowship that meets every Sunday. And, I have to go do that. I turn my life over to the care of the God of my understanding, which is a God I can stand under. Like an umbrella of grace is the way I look at it. And and it talks about in here, and that's one book of our literature, that the belief in my God or your God is total and without any catches. And so, I don't spiritually manipulate anymore, because I used to early on. I would be like, well, if you prayed like I did, or if you did these things like I did, and that's so wrong, and I didn't. A sponsor caught me on that, and I was like, wow, I have been doing that. And so when I first got into step 3, I wanted to, of course, I wanted to jump right to step 11, because I want to know what God's will was. And, I've learned today that I'm powerless over God's will for me. But I have self-will too. And so one of my favorite things, and this is how step 3 affected me, was you go to step 11 in the green and gold, and it's page 112, and it says that we see that regardless of the presence or absence of material sex in our lives, we can be content. We can be happy, fulfilled with or without money, with or without a partner, with or without the approval of others. We begin to see that God's will for us is the ability to live with dignity, to love ourselves, others, to laugh, find great joy and beauty in our surroundings. And so I went 2 years looking at without money, without the approval of others, and it got me to this miserable point in my recovery. And I was like, why am I doing this? And so my sponsor was like, well, why don't you look at the with this time? How about with some money? How about with the approval of others? How about with a partner? And, life began to change for me, because I was looking at the positive side instead of all the negative. And so that was a big turning point for me with step 3, was that I could live with the approval of others, with money. Life became, the parameters started to come in a little better from one extreme to the other. I was staying consistent. I wasn't acting a fool in the rooms. I cleaned my act up. I started doing step work and applying spiritual principles. Nobody had ever really explained to me that there's these underlying factors in all the steps that I have to apply. And so when I started doing that, life became manageable, somewhat. Now there's, control. Our literature says that control is impossible the moment it's mentioned. And so, I don't try to fix, manage, or control anymore. And with the third step, I learned that I get some relief, that I don't have to worry about it. I put it in God's hands and I turn it over. And that doesn't say that I won't take it back, because I do take it back often. And I usually find out my will is self-destructing. And so what I do with my sponsees is I make sure that we list the characteristics of a power greater than ourselves, or our higher power. And so when I list those characteristics, is that the man that I am today? Am I living in God's will, or am I in Brandon's will? And I've seen what Brandon's will does, with or without the use of drugs. And so if I can align it with God's will, what I perceive to be God's will for me, I don't stay in step 2 where I'm out of perspective, out of proportion, like it talks about in the step working guide. So I keep things proportionally sound, and I'm not tunnel visioned or keyhole visioned on the perspective. And that's how second and third step for me. And I have a beautiful life today. I went to an area meeting for my home group, because I've been to GSR of the many service commitments, and the area service committee decided to vote me to come speak at a freaking convention. The one meeting I'd been to in a long time, because I'd gone for years straight, and I'm like, great. So I've been nervous as hell. I've been preparing for this. Like I said, I prepared to go an hour long, and I didn't. And but I'm really honored, and I have 1,240 days clean today of uninterrupted clean time. Thank you. And the reason I always put it in days is so that I can remember that it's one day at a time. If I go to put months and years and shit on there, it defeats the purpose for me. It's one day at a time, and that's how I've done it. And it's a daily reprieve, and 1, 2, and 3 is every day as soon as I wake up. I can, he can, I think I let him, and that keeps it simple for me. Simplicity is the key to the first word in the basic text, and yeah, that's it. I'm done. Thanks for letting me share.
All right, one more round of applause, guys. Good job, man. All right, I've asked a fellow addict to come up here and read We Do Recover.
My name's Peyton. I'm an addict. We do recover. When at the end of the road we find that we can no longer function as a human being, either with or without drugs, we all face the same dilemma. What is there left to do? There seems to be this alternative: either go on as best we can to the bitter ends, jails, institutions, or death, or find a new way to live. In years gone by, very few addicts ever had this last choice. Those who are addicted today are more fortunate. For the first time in man's entire history, a simple way has been proving itself in the lives of many addicts. It is available to us all. This is a simple, spiritual, not religious program known as Narcotics Anonymous.
All right. How about we circle up and close this meeting out?
That's right. The lights are off. There's a fire. Okay, let's create a year.
Let's fill that gap. Do the line, can make a circle. Hey, Mr. John, would you like to take us out?
A moment of silence, please. We're still suffering at it. Followed by the weavers and a serenity prayer.
God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference just for today. Keep coming back. It works if you work it, but you gotta work it every day.